Hello, everyone. All right, it's 2 o'clock, and we're gonna get started. So we still have a couple people hopping in. But if you've never been on a webinar with us before, here at Meet Edgar, we'd love them to be as interactive as possible. So there's a chat window over on the side of your screen, and never ever, if you've never ever, or if you've been there, whatever, we love to have you guys in the chat. So hop in the chat, introduce yourselves. Let me know where you're coming in from, what your business is. My colleague Megan is over in the chat as well, and she's going to be monitoring it for me all throughout the webinar. So if you have questions, make sure you pop in. Hi, Melissa from NYC, Janice from the Philippines, Nathan's from Toronto. So many people. I love it. Awesome. I love when you guys are popping in there. So I'm going to get started. So just so you guys know, I don't have the chat up right now. Megan's going to be answering any questions. But if you have any for me at the end, I'm going to be popping in and doing a little Q&A in the last 10 minutes. But I really want to get this started because I just have like a ton of information that I can't wait to share with you guys. And I don't want you to wait. Your time's super valuable. I'm so happy you're here with me. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and learn about content upcycling. So let's get to it. We're going to share my presentation right now. All right. Oops. Y'all are seeing my secret already. Okay. Let me know if you can see, once I get back to slide 1, if you can see my screen. My auto is echoing. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Is there an echo? Much better. Still echoing. No. No, I can put the promo code as much as I want, but unfortunately I can't control what it is. A little echo. All right. Okay. Sound is loud but not clear. All right. I don't have my mic with me. So let's see. It's getting closer. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Some people are saying it's clear, some people are saying it's not. Some people are saying there's an echo, some people are saying better. Okay. So we're gonna get started. Just so you guys know, there will be a replay. Okay? You're gonna get the replay, you're gonna get the slides, you're gonna get the handouts since you're here live. Everything, you guys are gonna get everything you need. So if you have to hop off early, I totally get it. I really appreciate you guys being here. Just, you know, all you can. It's important to come to these things live and get your questions answered. All right. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to be talking about content upcycling, which is your cure for content burnout. How do you know if you're in the right place? If you're feeling burned out from constantly creating content, if you can't find the time to create consistent content, if you want to see more from your content, if you want to work harder and have your, you want to work smarter and you want your content to work harder, that's how you know you're in the right place, okay? You're a content creator, and I'd love for you guys to tell us in the chat what type of content you create. If you write blogs, if you have videos that you put up on YouTube, if you have podcasts, these are all different types of content. We are all content creators, so definitely pop in and let me know. All right. So what are you going to learn here? You're going to learn all about content upcycling, what it is, what it's costing you to not be upcycling your content. You're going to learn how to create a content upcycling plan, how you can start upcycling your content, what it is, what it's really good for. You can learn some content upcycling tactics. We're going to share 7 smart ideas on how to upcycle. And then because you guys are here live, you're going to get my list of 20 plus tools that I use to upcycle content that make it a lot easier. If you're not a designer, a videographer, writer, these tools are going to make it really easy for you to upcycle your content. And of course, I'll share with you guys a special offer of how you can start using that content and getting it out to everyone. All right. Tons of blogs, tons of videos. I love it. Okay. Um, okay. So if you've never been on a webinar training with us before, you might be wondering who's Edgar. So Meet Edgar is a social media scheduling tool that makes it easier to organize, create, and automate your social media content. It was started by our founder, Laura Roeder, when she was an entrepreneur selling courses and working as a consultant to help other entrepreneurs grow their business with social media. She was super frustrated that she couldn't find a, a tool that did what she wanted. She she decided she was going to create it herself, and that's what she did. So that's how Meet Edgar came about. It was created by a content creator for a content creator. Right now, we are a team of 12. We are a remote team. We're scattered all across North America. Like I said earlier, Megan's in Colorado. I'm here in DC, and we're just working to build the best social media scheduling tool for content creators. We want you guys getting your message out there, and everything we do is to teach you how to do that and also give you the tools, just like we're doing this training. So who am I? I'm the digital content manager here at Edgar. I am a social media manager. I'm a blogger. I have a side hustle where I am a part-time freelancer for local DC businesses. So I'm a content creator too, and I use the tricks I'm about to teach you guys pretty much every single day. Let's start. What's upcycling? Okay, before we even get to content upcycling, let's cover upcycling. Upcycling is all about taking something old and creating something new or equally more valuable than what it was before. All right, so if you've been on Pinterest or if you've watched HGTV, then you probably know what upcycling is. You turn an old lamp into an upcycled table, or you take a shirt and you turn it into a skirt. You are a Game of Thrones fan, then maybe you know that Game of Thrones was upcycled from books into a TV show. And actually the throne right there was upcycled as well. All right, so it's just creating something new and equally more valuable than what it was before. So content upcycling is taking a piece of content for the purpose of adding value and bringing it back into circulation. Okay. Hang on, guys. I'm getting a lot of complaints that the sound is really bad. So we're gonna put this on pause for a sec, and I'm gonna get some headphones, and we're gonna try and make that work. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Do I sound better? Yes, yes, yes. All right. Cool. Woohoo. Headphones, guys. Headphones. So back to it. We are only 8 minutes in. We're gonna recover from this. And we're just getting to a good part. You probably already know who I am. You already know what upcycling is. So let's get to content upcycling. Content upcycling is taking your content and transforming a piece of content for the purpose of adding value and then bringing it back into circulation. All right. If you have been in business for any amount of time, you probably have a ton of content you've already created that might just be living on your blog or in your old emails or on your old social media that you're not doing anything with. Upcycling is a perfect way to bring it back and still make it just as valuable for your audience. I'm going to give you just a couple of examples. Turning an old newsletter into an Instagram post, all right? We started doing this. We had old newsletters that we sent out years and years and years ago. I found them in a drive a couple of weeks ago, and I started turning them into pretty Instagram posts, just pulling quotes from them. Really helped me get out of a little Instagram rut, and I didn't have to create new content. We already had it, and it's still super valuable to our audience. Upcycling could be turning a webinar into a blog post and then into social media post, right? So we do this all the time. We have these trainings that we do, then we take them and we turn them into blog posts. We add some headings, we add some links for SEO, and then a lot of the times I'll take them and I will add a little extra to each tip and I'll put them onto social media. So they're really valuable social media posts. Super, super easy way to upcycle your content. All right, so why should you upcycle your content? I already mentioned before that you're probably here because you're on a content creation treadmill. That's what we call it here at Meet Edgar, where you're just like constantly creating content and you burned out by it and you're exhausted and you don't, you need another way to stay consistent. And that's a great reason. It saves time, it's easy, you're getting more out there. But the real best reason is not all the content you create is going to be winning content. And that's okay. We don't have winners all the time. Some content is going to be better than others. But when you upcycle, you're making the most of the winning content that you already have. You're making the most of the winning content that you already created. All right. So that's what you're doing. You're betting on your winners when you start upcycling. You also have more time to create really, really great content. There's a ton of low quality content out there, guys. When you upcycle your content, you're giving yourself a little more time to create those winning pieces. You're going to extend your reach because people consume content in different ways. And you're going to promote your visibility. So you can say the same thing in different ways across different networks, reaching different people who learn in different ways. And you're always going to be respecting your audience's learning style. Not everyone is a blog reader. Not everyone loves to watch videos. Not everyone loves to be in training. Everyone loves to consume content in different ways. So when you upcycle your best pieces of content, you're really meeting them where they're at. All right. What's it costing you to not upcycle your content? Time and effort. How long does it take you guys to create a piece of content? Like, I'd just love to know if it's a blog or if it's a video. Pop in the chat, let me know how long it takes you on average to create a brand new piece of content. For me, Edgar, if I'm writing a blog, it probably takes like 2 hours about to do the research, to outline it, edit it, get the graphics. And that's a lot, right? If I'm doing that every week. Amy says hours from beginning on end. Jacqueline says way too long. Zoe says it depends. If it's a specific graphic, it can take a few hours. Runboy Production says 2 hours a day. So, we're spending a ton of time and effort creating brand new content all the time. And that adds up when we're busy solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. If you're not upcycling your content, you could be missing potential customers. You could not be reaching as many people as you could because you're not creating it in the format that they like to engage with. And you also could be costing yourself engagement. There are different ways that we engage with our content on social media. There are different platforms that like different types of content. And we could be costing ourselves that engagement if we're not reaching out and upcycling our content. All right. So how do you start upcycling content? That's the question, right? And the good news is all you need is one piece of content. You've got to find a core piece of content that is going to perform really well. And it doesn't have to be a blog. It can be a blog. You write blogs, but it could be a video. It could be a podcast. It could be any type of content. Just a really, really good one piece of content. So if you're someone who's new, who's just getting started, and you're like, I don't even know where to start with my social media, all you need is like one winning piece of content, and then you can start upcycling from it. You shouldn't upcycle every piece of content you have, though. This is a really important note. If you want to upcycle content really, really well, it should be one of three things. It could be an evergreen piece of content, part of a series, or an authority piece of content. So here at Meet Edgar, we write a lot of timely blog posts about the changes on Instagram or the big Facebook change last year in 2018. That wouldn't be content we upcycle because it doesn't last as long. It's timely. However, we have a blog post about how to audit your content. That's a winner because you do it the same. It doesn't really change. How to audit content is a pretty standard strategy that we've been using over the years. So that's an evergreen piece of content that continues to live on. We did a series a couple months ago. It was a 3-part series on email lists. That's another great way to upcycle content because they build off of one another. Or like a thought leadership and authority piece. So if you're someone who writes opinionated blog posts and you really want someone really give your thoughts out on it, that's another great way to upcycle. So I'm going to get into these 7 tactics. Just so you guys know, I am basing this on a blog. But remember, it doesn't have to be a blog. You can reverse these in any way. You can start with an audio recording and turn it into a blog post. But just for the ease, I'm going to explain how we take one blog post, we can upcycle it 7 different ways. Okay, so number 1, tactic 1 for upcycling. You can turn a blog post or a written piece of content into an audio recording. So maybe I love to listen to podcasts these days. Most people love to listen to podcasts. They're very big. And if you have a lot of written content, you can simply record it. And then you can use that audio and either put it on your blog, or you can put it on Cafe FM or some other podcasting tool. It's another way to reach people how they want to consume your content. Tactic number 2, turning your blog post into an infographic. Infographics are great if they're visual learners. If you have something that has a lot of statistics, if you have something that has a lot of facts, you're really trying to illustrate something, an easy to read infographic can be great, and they can be very viral on all the social media sites, really. Plus they're great for SEO. So that's tactic number 2. Tactic number 3, you could turn a blog post into a quotable. I showed you this earlier, how we did it with our newsletter and how we turned it into quotes. All right. You can turn your favorite lines into these beautiful shareable quote images for Instagram, Pinterest, right? They're inspiring people, and they're still your words, they're still your content. I started doing this and it saved me a ton of time. Tactic number 4, you can turn a blog post or any piece of content into your email newsletter. One way I like to do this is by adding some backstory to it and something personal, like a personal anecdote about why we decided to write this blog or what we learned from writing this blog. And that way your email subscribers are getting something like really juicy and really, something that not everyone's getting. Because that's the important thing that we'll get to in a moment about upcycled content. You make sure that it works for the medium and it's got its own value. You could turn a blog post into a content download. So if you have some type of piece of content that has really good educational instructions in there, you can pull out those core themes and make it a little interactive. You can make it a fill in the blank type of thing. So you're creating this educational download that people can grab and they can work through on their own if they're, kinetic learners and they want to learn by interacting. Tactic number 6 is you can turn a blog post into a video, all right? You can pull out, there's core pieces, I'm sure, of every blog that you write that you can do a little video of. You can put it on YouTube, you can record a webinar like we're doing, or you can even go live on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, just sharing the main pieces of this blog post. It puts you in front of people, it adds your personality, it shows how you teach. It's a really easy way to get more out of your content. All right, tactic 7. You can turn blog posts into social media stories or moments. So this is a really big, really hot one right now because everyone loves Instagram and Facebook stories. And you can take a piece of content that you have and create a multi-frame story from it. If you're on Twitter, you could do a Twitter moment from it, from these different tweets. You're reaching your social media audience. You might be reaching more people if you use the right hashtags, and you're getting your message across in a different way. So those are the 7 tactics. You can take one piece of content. So for us, it's a blog, and you can turn it into an audio recording. You can turn it into an infographic. You can turn it into a quotable for Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You can turn it into a video. You can create a content download from it. You can do a social media story or moment from it. And you can record yourself teaching. All right. How is everyone feeling about upcycling content? Has anyone done it yet? And is anyone learning? Is anyone having some fears around it yet? like you can't do it or you're not sure where to start, let us know in the chat so we can make sure that you're feeling really good about upcycling content, because once you get in the habit of it, it's really easy to do. Here's the thing about upcycled content, guys, is Jason said seems like often a similar amount of work. We'll get to that in a second. Upcycled content is consumed in different ways. It offers its own value, and it can stand on its own, all right? So it's not about it's about the creation, not about the distribution, okay? That's where Edgar comes in. That's where your favorite social media scheduling tool comes in. Upcycled content is really about creating different types of pieces. Yes, Jacqueline, I will be sharing the notes. Warren, what are your questions? So this is a presentation on why and also how. So we just went through the 7 tactics, and now we're going to talk about how to upcycle your content, all right? That's what we're getting into now. There's 4 steps, okay? You're going to first find your core content. This is when you do an audit of content. This is when you look at your goals. Look at what works for you. Look at what content brings in your customers. Look at what content brings in the traffic to people. Look at what content brings in the most engagement. Make sure you know your best performers, all right? Make sure you are measuring every piece of content you put out there. Because if you're not, you're really gonna struggle with getting any success from your content. You have to be measuring it. So do an audit of your content and start finding out what is most successful, what's working very, very well. Then you're going to choose your upcycling tactic. I just shared 7 different ways that you can do it. And if I were you, what we do is we look for the lowest hanging fruit, all right? Where is your audience already? Where are you currently marketing? How do they like to consume content? Make sure you ask them these questions. Make sure you're talking to them and learning, like, do they love Instagram quotes or do they love watching YouTube videos? Talk to your audience and understand what upcycling tactic is going to work best for them. If you're not sure, look at your industry. Look at what other people are doing. Look at what your competitors are doing. Look at where they're hanging out, where they're putting their content. It's always good just to get a good idea of the best practices in your industry to see like where your reach isn't hitting just yet. Set goals. All right, before you upcycle a piece of content, it's very important you get clear on what that upcycled content is going to do for you. How are you going to define that it was successful for you and for your business? So if I wanted to have more reach, I would go to a place where we don't spend as much time, right? I would create content for Pinterest because we don't use Pinterest very often here at Meet Edgar. And I would create some beautiful infographics out of the blogs that we've already written. And then I'm going to set some goals to say, I want to make sure we reach this many people on Pinterest with these images. Think about that. Your content needs a job, your core content as well as your upcycled content. So just get very clear on where you're trying to learn. If you're trying to build more traffic back to your website, if you're trying to increase your engagement on social media, you're trying to build your more loyalty from your current audience. Then, once you've done that, once you've audited your content, you've found your core piece of content, once you've chosen your upcycling tactic, once you've set goals, then it's time to amplify your content. And that's where your social media scheduling comes in. So you would share your upcycled content just as you would share an original piece. You're going to put it into your social media calendar. And Edgar is perfect for that. So first off, what questions do you guys have? Let me pop back in. Any questions before I start showing you how to amplify your content on how you can start upcycling your content? Rumboy Productions says that he's always checking with competitors. Nancy, okay. Well, Nancy, you can schedule Instagram stories, but you can't schedule Facebook stories. No one can schedule Facebook stories just yet. All right, so no questions on content upcycling just yet. Because now I'm going to show you guys how to amplify it. Once you have it, you want to make sure you're getting it out to your audience as well. Everyone's good. All right, cool. Checking out of the chat for now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 ways that Edgar, or really just managing your social media, is going to make this easier once you're upcycling your content. So we're going into my schedule right now, all right? Because I've already shared you how we upcycle content here. And I'm going to share you how I promote my personal brand and how I promote Edgar and all of the writing I do on here. You guys all see my screen? Yes? Perfect. All right. So what you want to do if you start upcycling your content is really the easiest way to do this is by creating categories. So we are a category-based scheduling system, which means we add content in its categories. And that makes it really easy to balance all the different upcycle content that you're sharing. So what I like to do is create different categories based on these upcycled contents, all right? And I'll show you how I do that. So here's my blog post category, and that's where I share all of the Edgar blogs that I create, all right? And then I have a social post podcast category where I shall share the audio versions of the different blogs I create. And then I have a thought leadership category where I share different quotes from those blogs I write. Right? So those are 3 different categories that are all my upcycled categories. Of course, they're not the only things I'm sharing, right? I have curated content in here. I have questions in here. I'm sharing in a variety of different ways. But when it comes to the content that we know grows our business and the content that I know grows my own personal brand, I upcycle it and then I create those categories. So I've got my blog post categories, my thought leadership categories, and then my social post podcast category. So if if I record a podcast based on the blog, it's not going to come out back to back, but it's going to keep me consistent. So it's going to keep my message going out there amid everything else. So if you start upcycling your content, if you're already upcycling your content, I definitely encourage you to split your social media up into these different categories, create this category-based scheduling system, because I know one of the fears is if I upcycle my content, then I'm going to start seeming really repetitive and really like this, boring to my followers. But if you balance it out, it won't feel like that at all. They'll just feel like they're getting a ton of consistently great content. And categories is the best way to do that, all right? So the second thing that I recommend you do when you start upcycling your content is to create variations. And how you do that is very, very simple, okay? So I'm just gonna give you guys an example. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, we have our social post podcast, which is just an audio version of our blog. And sometimes I'll just give a little more personality or show like a few more examples and anecdotes in it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take the link for the podcast. I'm gonna add it in here. And then I'm going to add it into my social post podcast. And what I like to do is variations of your posts allow you to test different headlines, different phrases, different copy, different images. You can mix up the different ways that you're really sharing your upcycled content. So I'm going to create 5 different variations of this one podcast. So one will just be new podcast episode. Oops. Powers of audiences. Then I'll add another variation and we'll use some headline tactics, right? So we'll ask a question. And I'll add another one. And we'll do some curiosity, right? You won't believe how powerful small audience is. Okay. So I have 3 different variations right now of an upcycled content. I'm going to save it to my library. It's already in my category, so Edgar knows when to post it. Now, we're going to stop sharing my screen. So now what I have done is I started out with a blog. It was the main piece of blog, and I upcycled a podcast from it. Then I took that upcycled piece of content and I created 3 posts from it. It's going to post every Tuesday because that's when I like to post. And I have, so what is that? 3 pieces of content for the podcast, 3 pieces for the blog. I have 6 social media posts already just based on one idea. Then I upcycled, then I created variations. So do you see how like I took one brilliant idea I had about the power of small audiences and I created more and more content based off of it. It's reaching all these different people. And you guys don't need Edgar to do this, by the way. We just like to use that as an example. You can create variations all you want on your own. Zoe asked, were those being posted to just LinkedIn multiple times or various social accounts? So the way I just set it up just now is I just set it for my Twitter, but you can post it to multiple accounts if you wanted to. All right. So let's go back into my presentation. See if it'll, Edgar's already amplifying it. So here's the really important thing about content upcycling. I've already heard a few of your fears and a few of like you saying this sounds like just as much work. It's not a hack, it's not a shortcut, and it's not lazy. It's working smarter. It's betting on your winners, all right? It is making sure that the best content that you have created gets out to absolutely everyone because your audience wants to see your content. And it's your job to show it to them. And it's your job to show it in as many ways as you can. All right, we could sit and we could bang our heads against the wall and try to figure out what to create again, or we could look back at things we've already created and say, I want to make this better. I want to take this core piece of content, I want to make it in a way that more people can enjoy it. That is the power of content upcycling. It's working smarter for you, you guys. It's using your thoughts and ideas and spreading them around so your audience can find them. That is the power. Okay, that's the power of content upcycling. And it's not that hard to do. I'm going to drop into the chat right now 20 plus tools that you guys can use that will make it easier for content upcycling, okay? Because it doesn't have to be, there's so many tools out there. Here's the thing, there's so many tools out there that will make this easier. So a couple of you were saying, this seems like just as much work. It doesn't have to be. What I'm sharing with you guys is 20 tools that will make it easier to take your content and turn it into an image, that make infographics really, really quick, that make ebooks really, really easy to make. All right, so make sure you guys grab that because you can't get it if you can only get it if you're live on this call. All right, so that's like my thank you guys for hanging with me while I figured out my sound issues, and also like open up your mind and just experiment with some of these. All right, it shouldn't take you that long once you start using these smart tools. And if you already have the core piece of content, it should take you not as long to upcycle a piece of content as it does to create a new piece of content. And this worksheet will help you. Okay. Finally, before we get to anything else, what are your questions? What are your fears? How are you feeling about content upcycling right now? Let me know in the chat. I have it open now. And I want to know what you guys are feeling about using content upcycling. If you use it, tell me how you're using it. If you haven't started using it, tell me what you're going to start doing with it. Because honestly, the results are Janine asked, can you upcycle blog images? Yeah, Janine, you can upcycle blog images. I think the important thing to recognize with content upcycling is that there's going to be value in that blog image no matter what. All right. So that's the important thing to recognize whenever you want to upcycle content, that it's going to be valuable no matter how you share it, that they don't have to go back to the original blog to get value out of it. Heather asked, what's a good length of time between an original use and an upcycle? That's a great question. So if you want to figure out if something's worth upcycling, you actually have to see how it's performing. So I like to give our content like a good solid month to perform before I can really say like if this is worth it. Because I know my metrics and I know how well things usually do in Edgar. And that's, you need to make sure that like that piece of content is doing its job before you decide to upcycle it. So if you're not measuring your content, I definitely recommend like finding a schedule to measure your content in, and that will help. All right. Marissa says she hasn't upcycled yet, but infographics sound interesting. Marissa, if you grab that, the handout that I just dropped you guys, there's a couple of infographic tools in there that are really helpful. All right. So Rumble Productions, it sounds like a great idea. I do stage theater and would love to upcycle content, but I think we'll only work for projects if we are doing over again. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what type of theater that you do, Run Boy Run, but I think there's definitely, you could do like vignettes of a bigger piece, or, if you wanted to think about like marketing, you could definitely upcycle different marketing concepts for pieces. All right. Cool. So, no. Richard just asked, if you schedule categories, should you go into it and change and modify it for social platforms? Do you mean the actual post that you're sharing on different platforms? You can use the category for every platform. Yeah, I mean, I think that depends on how you use those, right? So a lot of the times I don't modify content between platforms. A lot of times I'll find our voice and I'll use the voice across Facebook, across Twitter, and across LinkedIn. So Gail, I think if Richard's asking, like if you schedule a category, should you go into change and modify social platforms? Really, should you change the post? And you don't need to change the post. We cross post a lot here at Edgar, which means just using the same post across different posts or across different platforms. The only thing that I would tell you is don't schedule them all at the same time. We like to mix up how we post. So what I post on Facebook doesn't go out at the same time on LinkedIn. They have different time slots, and that's just because I like my audience to see that we have different things going on. But you can definitely cross post. Okay. All right. Melissa, you do not need to resize. So keep the questions coming, because I want to make sure you guys have everything you need to really upcycle your content. You have the tools now. You have 7 ways you can do it, and you know exactly how to do it. Audit your content. Make sure you're auditing your content on a regular basis. Make sure you're knowing your goals. Make sure you're paying attention to where your audience is and where they're not. And if you want to try Edgar, we have 2 options for you guys, all right? If you go to this link and you want to use Edgar to amplify your content, you can go to bit.ly/upcycled content, and you can try Edgar for free for 14 days. I would say like take 2 days, upcycle a piece of content, and then try it out in Edgar. Try categories, try variations, see what's working for you guys. See how much your reach increases. See how much your engagement increases, right? Like figure out whatever those metrics are. That's the most important thing. Knowing your metrics and understanding how each piece of content is going to drive traffic back. If you don't start with that, you're going to struggle with upcycling. So I highly recommend doing that. And if you really want to try Edgar, I think we saw this earlier, but you can always save 50% off for 3 months. This deal's only good for 2 days, okay? $24.50 a month. with the code Upcycle50. And then you can really get crazy with the different ways you've upcycled. I'm assuming that you guys have some content already. Hopefully you guys already have some idea of what you should be upcycling. You can get started now, and then you can start creating all these amazing social posts from it. This could set you up all the way through the fall, because you'll have your content, you'll have your upcycled content, and then you'll have your social post to support it. All right. What other questions do you guys have? We are ending early, so I want to make sure we get all your questions answered about upcycling content, scheduling and promoting your content. Edgar, if you have questions about Edgar and you want to see any more tools in it, let me know. We are here to help. And also, if you come to our webinars and you've been here before, let me know what you want to learn next. All right, we want to make sure at Edgar we're giving you guys the best tools. You're an education first company, which means we want to educate you, not just sell to you. So we want to know, we want to know what you want to know, what you want to know from us, what we can teach you. Melissa, if you were a former customer and you come back, you can absolutely use this code. Yeah, Megan will get you hooked up. All right. You are about to get 18 minutes back in your day, guys. You're welcome, Dave. Marissa, if you have questions about the trial, definitely let us know. Email into support. We're a small team here at Meet Edgar, so if you email in, you're talking to Megan. And if you message into a social media account, you're talking to me. So we would love to make sure you're getting the most out of your trial. So definitely, hit us up. Let us know. We have some demos we could show you. We want to make sure you get the most out of it. All right, guys. Jacqueline, you're a newbie. Is there a place you should start? Do you mean with upcycling content? If you're a newbie and you're just getting started, focus on creating one core piece of content, whether it's an ebook, whether it's like an amazing infographic, an amazing training. Get started with creating one really, really good piece of content. Get that into the world first and test it a little bit and make sure it's what your audience wants. Then you can start upcycling from there. But that's where you get started. It all starts with one piece of content. Oh, Megan's got you covered. All right. All right, you guys, if you do start upcycling content, let me know. Shoot us a message at Meet Edgar on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. I will send the replay out. I might record it so you guys get the proper sound all around. But yeah, make sure you grab your worksheet. That you do only get that since you've been here, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me. If you ever have any questions, feel free to email us at support@meetedgar. Or you can always message in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and let us know.